The VW
Scirocco.
Okay, but I don't see any H's. Whatever. The VW Scirocco was the sporty three-door half-coupe, half-hatchback named after the southeasterly Mediterranean wind for some reason that America only had for 2 of its 3 generations for other reasons. Now it's gone. The Scirocco was born in 1974 as a replacement for the beautiful Karmann Ghia. VW based it on the then new Golf, but re-engineered almost every part to produce a sleeker hatchback. The result was arguably the archetype of the modern hot hatch. 3 doors, low slung, and lightweight. What VW had done was create a flashy car out of the Golf's proletarian base. This was by no means the first instance of an automaker using an economy platform to make a sporty car, see every 1960s fastback, but it would lay the groundwork for VW's future front-wheel drive ambitions. Wait, I can hear you asking, what did the Scirocco have to do with the Passat and the Jetta? Well, let's remember that up until the Scirocco, VW only had derivative cars based on the Beetle. What do I mean by derivative? Well, let me start by not asking any more rhetorical questions and explain what the Beetle actually meant to Volkswagen's 1960s and 70s lineup. VW was very much based around its air-cooled Boxer 4 engines during this era. Boxer engines are named after the way their pistons reciprocate, like in this illustration, much like boxers touching gloves before a fight. This engine layout, with the piston spread eagle out to the sides, exposed the VW engine cylinders to air, which allowed for ambient air cooling, thus keeping the constituent parts simple. Most other engines, including the Model T's 2.5-ish inline 4, needed to be water-cooled. What these early VWs had was in many ways quite similar to what modern cars are designed around. That is, an engine transaxle combination located independently of the passenger compartment. The British would turn Volkswagen's rear-engine, rear-wheel drive layout completely around and almost single-handedly create the FF layout in 1959, but that will be covered in a future video. By the standards of 1970s European motoring, an air-cooled engine at the rear was more than sufficient. As technology advanced and Europe pulled itself out of the post-war dark ages, it became apparent that liquid-cooled front-wheel drive cars would be the way of the future. VW's answer to the modern times was the Golf Mark I. The Beetle's successor would feature modern, for the 70s, looks, a tall passenger cabin, and thoroughly populist ambitions. It was an excellent platform that would in time become a legend of its own. The Karmann Ghia was being produced around the end of the Beetle's life and needed a replacement. What could ever fit the beauty and elegance of what is arguably one of the most graceful common man cars of all times? Well, that mantle would fall to the VW Scirocco. Before I continue, I hope we all agree that the Karmann Ghia was one of the greatest looking cars ever made. My heart aches because one is not in my driveway. The Scirocco was a, handsome car, even by today's standards, but it could never be as elegant as the Karmann Ghia. Europe was apparently a different matter. They went bonkers over the new low-roof Golf. Volkswagen claimed that it was a totally different car sharing almost none of the same parts. Most people can easily see the similarities in design. Unfortunately, one important part it did share was the Golf's anemic engine, the American versions of which produced roundabout 71 horsepower, give or take, depending on the engine size. Europe would receive a bevy of engines ranging from a 1.1 to 1.7 liter. VW continued with the first generation Scirocco until 1981, timed similarly to the next generation Golf, with which it was inextricably linked. The new car would eventually receive a 16-valve engine producing around 137 horsepower stateside, up from its initial 1982 offering of 74 horsepower. The diminutive power figures would mean that admittedly awesome-looking spoiler VW added would forever be writing a check the Scirocco's sub-2-liter engines could never cash. We got the Scirocco until 1988, when, much like an aging pop star, the facelifts couldn't hide the age anymore, and it was sent off into that West German sunset. Canada managed to get the new Scirocco until 1989, and Europe had it all the way until 1992. Though missed, the world continued to turn without the boxy little sportback. Then something happened. Time passed. Flowers bloomed and withered. The seasons marched on, and we all grew up. Nostalgia began to set in and become profitable. In those heady days of the 90s and early 2000s, our tastes had changed ever so slightly. And somehow, the boxy little compact car that could was beautiful once again. VW brought back the Scirocco in 2008 based once again upon the venerable Golf. The new Scirocco would harken back to its genesis. Smaller, lower, and sleeker than its classmates. Gone were the beautifully stark, hard lines and four-eyed face. The all-new Scirocco was curved in all the right places. Its stance was aggressive, its roofline low and mean. Though heavily related to the Golf, this car was clearly its own master, just like its predecessors. And this time, it would be fast. The Sciroccos of old were never truly fast cars. Sure, the first and second generations were quick in the bends and sprightly off the line for its day, but the first two Sciroccos were never meant to be barn burners. The same would not be true for the third iteration. Sure, many examples came equipped with a 1.4-liter engine, and some even sported a diesel, but many came with VW's 2.0 TSI Turbo 4, which put out a totally respectable 200 horsepower. Matched with a car that weighed in around 2,800 pounds, these turbo Sciroccos were quick cars even by today's crazy horsepower standards. VW was on a roll. The 2009 Scirocco R was introduced featuring 261 horsepower. This was, and still is, serious stuff for a three-door front-wheel drive car. By 2014, it would get a facelift, bringing it in line with contemporary VW's design language. Oh, and the new Scirocco R would see its power upped to 276 horsepower. This was a car that could finally hold its own here in North America. It was powerful, practical, and stuffed with all the newest technology. Heck, I would sit at my desk at work daydreaming about carving up the Ohio backroads in my own Scirocco if only Volkswagen would sell me one. You see, we Americans like large, stupid trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Muscle cars are cool, and sometimes have enough backseat to get cozy with a special friend should the need arise. Tiny European hatchbacks, though? No way. They're commuter cars, something you buy to save a few bucks on gas. Nothing to turn the head of a red-blooded American. At least that's how the world's automakers see us. Considering the cost in dollars, or euros, and manpower to homologate a car to American DOT standards, it is understandable why many marques are loath to try their smaller cars in our large but specialized market. Just look at all the neat little Fords and Chevys rolling around the rest of the world that will most likely never see American asphalt. For example, we are likely not getting the Ford Fiesta ST after 2018. We have a full review of the 2017 Fiesta ST coming up in the near future, so subscribe and click notify. This is what Volkswagen saw and why they didn't bring the Scirocco across the Atlantic. Heck, we don't even get a three-door Golf anymore. Americans as a market favor perhaps not a specific type of vehicle, but at least a certain size. Tiny crossovers like the Chevy Trax and Ford EcoSport skirt this by being tall, hiding their diminutive stature. The Scirocco could never be tall or feature four doors. That would be silly, and it would violate the car's ethos. It was brought into this world small, mean, and quick, and that's how it would leave. For 6 glorious years, humanity was blessed with perhaps one of the last truly sporty and small hatchbacks. As we watch cars, and our own waistlines, grow with the passing of time, one needs only look to the near past to catch a glimpse of an alternate America that could never be. One where a car could be both small, impractical, and at once loved. Sure, your Uncle Floyd won't understand. Maybe your friends won't either. But that's okay, because in 2032, you'll be able to import one and finally live out your top-gear fantasies on the backroads of your own home state. That is, if we're even allowed to drive our own cars on public roads by then. In the meantime, while we can't yet own a Scirocco here in America, at least we can live vicariously through YouTube. And that is better than nothing.